Welcome to the Film and Cinematography Podcast. What's up guys, I'm Alex and welcome to a new episode of the Filmmaking and Cinematography Podcast. So in this episode, let's talk about producing your own film. I like to talk about the 5 phases of producing your own film, and the first one is the idea and scripting. So here you want to come up with the idea of your film, and this can be inspired by anything. Can be inspired by a book you watch, by another film, or something that happened in your own life, some news or whatever you want. What comes often to me when I get some ideas for a new short film is some cinematography ideas. I just see a movie and I get inspired by some cinematography technique they had used or some specific shot, or I get an idea of what if I put some lights like this and I get this shot and so on. And this is somehow the starting point of my idea. I just start with a shot and then I think what can happen in such a shot. An example for this is in my previous short film, The Two Faces of a Man, I thought about somebody working at night. And with this I thought about what can happen at night in an office. So I thought about a prosecutor working at night. This is how the story started. And then I also thought about what if I could add some shots where a character is talking to somebody and you show this and I should show the state of two characters. Then I also came up with an idea of somebody talking to him in the past. And after such small ideas I combined them into a full script and I had a final idea. After I have a final idea, I have a storyline, then I write it down, but not as a screenplay, but just write down the ideas and then show it to my family, to some friends to get a feedback on the story I want to tell. This feedback can be very helpful. For example, if you're creating a comedy, more precisely a non-verbal comedy, then you might want to see if people are laughing to those jokes you are saying. Or if you're creating just like me a drama movie, then you want to see if the people are shocked about what happened in that film. So just like I said, I showed those ideas to my family, to my friends. They also came with some other ideas and then I had the final storyline. Then it was time to write it in a screenplay format, on the acts, on the scenes and so on. But here comes a really important part. You need to map your film around the three-act structure. More about the three-act structure I talked about in my classes and in my videos, but let's have also here a small definement of it. In the first act you present the characters, you have a setup, then you have an inciting incident that starts the actions of the main character and then a plot point that shows that the character is a bit destroyed, let's say. His feelings are destroyed and he can't see any hope. But then comes the rising action where the character needs to find a solution to fix what happened in the inciting incident. And after a reveal in the top point of the second act, we have the second plot point. This is the worst part for the main character because his feelings are completely destroyed. He lost something, he lost somebody or something like that. But that loss, that bad feeling determines him to really reach his goal and we climb to the climax. This is the more suspenseful, the most important part in your film, and then we finally reach to the end where the end can be a good end or a bad end and everything is settled down. Or probably you can let some questions for a second part to be followed. So, after you have your story, you've written your screenplay, you have all your repliques done, everything is alright, you need to show this screenplay to some people, to your family or to friends and so on, and just listen for their feedback. Again, I take this example with the comedy. Show them the jokes and see if they are laughing at the jokes. If not, you might need to change them a bit. The same thing goes for drama, for action or anything. If they find the action impactful, full of drama and so on, then you reach your goal of creating a drama screenplay. But if that doesn't happen, then you should reconsider the actions that are happening in your film. After this is done, now the pre-production starts. I usually think about, before writing the script, I think about also the location, because some ideas that came to me while filming a shot or by thinking about a shot, then these shots have also a correlation to a location. So I sometimes already have the locations in mind. But if not, in the pre-production is the time to search for the location. For my short film, I already had in mind a shot of somebody being alone in a field. And I knew a field that is exactly like I wanted, right near my hometown. And there was the place where we filmed the start of the film and also the climax and the end of the entire film. Also, my next short film, which I cannot tell you so much about, is going to have some actions inside the school. So now in the pre-production phase I'm right now in, where I'm going to film those scenes. So I already asked the school principal if I'm allowed to film in my school, and everything is alright. So this is what you should do in the pre-production. You need to search for the location. But even more important than the location, you can have the most beautiful location ever that you can find on the entire planet. But if you don't find actors, then why should you make a film? Well, now it's time to think about the act. In my case, I'm doing films with my friends, so I already somehow have in mind what their role is going to be. But if not, if you can hire, if you are available, if you are able to hire people, or if you have a lot of friends that want to play, then you can do casting. You can think about some roles, and this is what I also do with my friends. I do some sort of casting and see what role best suits for each person. And this casting is a really important part, because some people have a strength of being more natural in front of the camera. Some others don't. So you need to practice a lot with them. So my first films doing with my friends or with my family weren't so good, because they couldn't really act. So the first thing I really like to say when I'm filming something is to be as natural as possible. This is what I like to tell my actors, that they should be natural and don't really overdo the acting. This is a common mistake I see many actors do, and on many beginner films, is that people or actors, so I mean by actors, not professional actors, they overact some scenes. They are not natural. So this is an important part that I as a director need to think about. Also, I as the director, or also I as the scriptwriter, I need to show what I want the actors to play like. So I need to have also some acting skills, or you as director need also to have some acting skills to really show what emotions you want to see from the desired person that is going to play a certain role. This is already part of the production of the film. But there's one more thing, and it is, in my opinion, the most important thing that a director or a cinematographer should do in the pre-production phase, and this is writing the shot. Here you should write the type of shot, the lens, the camera, and every information that you need on the set. And also, what I like to do is to have a specific field on my shot list where I write the cinematography of that shot. So the visual story in this case. So I already have the entire film and the entire shots that I want to take. I have there on the shot list and in my mind before going on the set. So this allows me to allocate much more time on actors and also on some further tweaks on the cinematography of the film, then really thinking then on the moment what shots I'm going to take. This also minimizes the risk of shots going wrong or of the film being misunderstood because some shots are missing. This is a thing I went through, and I can say from my own experience that if you don't have a shot, it's the worst feeling ever in the editing room to see that your entire film goes really good and as planned, but suddenly one shot is missing or one replique is missing and the entire scene doesn't make any sense, and further the film doesn't make any sense and everything is ruined. And in the worst case, you need to go back to that location and reshoot some scenes. For the production, I can't really say too much because it really depends on the film, on you as the director, on the practice you have when it comes to directing your film, and so on. There are a lot of things that really happen on the production, and you can control what is going to happen. But now it comes the editing room. If you're an editor or if you're working with a separate editor, it is really important that that second editor or you really understand what the film story is. So here again comes the shot list in place. After I have shot a film, or maybe after I have shot the perfect take, I write down the name of the file or the order I have filmed the shots in such a way that my editor knows exactly where he's going to place each shot and doesn't have to struggle for searching shots. And this also makes my life much more easier, because I definitely know that if I have written that file name in that shot list, then I'm completely sure that the entire thing I was filming, the entire film is done, and I don't get a call from my editor to say that hi Alex, I have a problem with some shots and we need to go to reshoot them. This is something that I don't want to go through again. I also edited my own films, and some tips from the editing room is to shoot for the edit. So just like I said, have the shot list, but also take at least 2 shots of the same action, because you don't know if there comes something that you haven't expected. An example for this can be some micro jitter in the camera. You have just touched a bit the camera. For this happens to me if I'm shooting on a gimbal. I have just touched a bit the lens of the camera, or a cable of the on the gimbal has touched something and the shot has some micro jitter and it's ruined. Or sometimes it can be out of focus. I'm not so careful in that case on the focus pulling, and everything is again ruined. So one thing I can say, and it is really important, is that one shot you should shoot exactly like it is written in the shot list, and the other shot can also add some changes. For example, I often get some ideas right on the set, so I film one shot exactly like it was written in the shot list, with no other changes. Then I can make another shot where I experiment something. Also, one thing I also do sometimes is, if I have manual focus pulling on a shot, then I also do one with autofocus and face tracking or object tracking turned on. Sometimes the autofocus can go wrong and I still have a backup shot with the focus pulling right. Can happen on the other side. If the focus pulling goes wrong, then I again have problems, and I don't want to have any problems in the editing room. In the editing room, there is one more thing: the sound. Sound is half of the viewing experience, and even if you have a really gorgeous shot but the sound is terrible, you will not get any views. Just like in this podcast, I could easily record this podcast on my phone. It would be much more easy than install a mic, my receiver, a laptop to record, and so on. It can be much more easy to record it from your phone. But why am I doing this? Also, in a podcast, you want to have a clear audio. If you want to hear this podcast in your car or wherever you're hearing it, then you don't want to get bad audio. So this means that the same thing should happen in the film. Just imagine if your film would come on a big screen, the imagery is wonderful, but the sound is terrible, and nobody can understand the character's speech, and so on. So what I recommend is really invest in a really good quality mic. But also, the sound is not just about the character's talks, but also about the other sounds. For example, foliage, if your actor does something and then you record it afterwards to have a much more clear audio. But also music and sound effects. For example, some swooshes or some in a horror movie, that typical horror sound effects, and so on. Music is really important in a film. What I learned from my experience is that just taking some clips from some providing services, just like Premium Beat, Storyblocks, and so on, can be really good for your film. But if you can compose your own music, can be to a whole new level. So one thing I tried in my previous movie, The Two Faces of a Man, is to compose the music. So I'm not a composer, I do not sing at any instrument or so, but I compose it using multiple tracks from Premium Beat. So I didn't just slap on a music there and everything was alright, but I also tried to combine some songs together. But for the next film I'm shooting, I have now the luck of working with somebody who is really experienced in the music industry and will make the music for my film. And having custom made music just for the film, really nice and wonderful thing that can help you as a director, as an editor, or whatever, or producer, or whatever your role is, because it makes the as an editor, it makes the job easier, because the music that is custom made for your film is really made there to be. So it is really for that movie, that is really tuned for the story, for what you want to show. Also for the moments of impact, for example, where you want to have an impactful moment where the music is at its highest point in the climax, for example, then that music is perfectly tuned. But we'll see how that's going to turn out. So after the film is done, there's one more thing which I like to give really much attention to, and these are the title and the credits. So I'm not meaning the title of the film, but the title animation. For every of my film, I want to add a specific, unique title animation that really settles the effect. So beside the font and the actual title, I add an animation. An example for this, in my previous short film, The Two Faces of a Man, I written down the title. Just slam it there on a beat of the music, and that's it. But that was not enough. I then animated the text being sliced in two parts, and this is a really important part of the story of the film, because it shows the story I wanted to tell, the story of the two faces. The same thing I done in my short film V-Room. It's a sci-fi story, a lot of computers and stuff and programming, so this can be shown through the title. So the title is animated exactly like you would write a computer program, and also it flickers around, it glitches around. And this is again part that can really settle the effect and also settle the story. The same thing goes for the credits. I make the credits in the same style as I have made the intro animation, to retain the same style, the same story. You can go even further by having different animations for the main cast. And this means that for a bad character, you can have an animation that shows that feeling. But for a good character, you show another animation that again shows that that character is a good character. As the last part is publishing. And publishing is not enough just to put the film on YouTube and you're good to go. But it can go further than that. First of all, you publish the film on YouTube, just like I said. What I also do is to publish the film, so more specifically the cover of the film. I put it on Instagram or on any platform that I can get access to, and I can show it, because it just brings a new reach to audience that can look up for your movie. Also, this cover should be really should tell the story, should be in the same style as the title animation, should really embrace together with the film, and just like it was a frame of that film. Also, these covers can be a bit exaggerated to really grab the attention, just like a thumbnail on YouTube. One tip I can give you is always do 3 covers for your film. The first one is a 16:9 cover for YouTube or some streaming platform if you are able to put your film onto. The second one is a 9:16, so a vertical format, and this I'm doing for film festivals, which I'm going to talk in a few minutes. And the last one is a square cover. This is for Instagram because it features the entire real estate that I can get from that post. But now the second part of sharing is behind the scenes. For the first time in my next film, I have somebody who I'm really thankful for, who is going to shoot the behind the scenes, and the same person who's going also to edit my film, and I'm so thankful for that, because behind the scenes is a really nice thing to have in your film. Behind the scenes can help me a lot, not just for sharing and promote my film, but also to get new viewers, to get people more interesting, and probably people from filmmaking communities, but also for me personally, I can just rewatch this behind the scenes and it'd be wonderful. And also for me, the most important part of shooting behind the scenes is using it in courses, in classes, in YouTube videos, in shorts and in tutorials mostly, and because I get a lot of B-roll for my videos. So again, a huge shout out to my editor and my behind the scenes camera guy. The last part of sharing is sharing your film to film festivals, and this I do with the platform called Film Freeway, where you can reach out to a lot of film festivals. But about film festivals, there can be a complete other podcast episode. And that is for today, guys. I'm so happy that you listened till the end, and hopefully you learned something new about producing your own film, and also I hope that I have inspired you to create your own film. If you'd like, you can just tag my Instagram profile in your filmmaking post, and I can't wait to see what films you guys have made. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Welcome to the Film and Cinematography